Chodesh, everyone, and a good Yom Tov. And may this month be a real, true Chodesh HaGeula, the ultimate Geula Shalem, and may it be taken from a Yad Mamish. Welcome, everyone, to the Dvar Malchus Shir. We're learning the last part of the Parshas Chayei Sicha of Tafshin Nun Beis. I would request, particularly today, that everyone participating in the Shir should open up their vessels, whether it's simply your ears, whether it's the ears and then deeper, your ears of your neshama, on the deepest level of receptiveness, because what we're going to learn today is literally off the charts. And I can't imagine anything more important than today's class. And I hope that after the Shir, being the Eis Skula that it is, Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the awesome time that it is and what it represents, this Shir could be sent out to every shlucha to listen to. I'm not going to say anything new. I'm just reading to you what it says over here. Hopefully I can teach it with chayas and with clarity, and it'll be very refreshing with the Eibishter's help, the Rebbe's keiches. Okay. All right, so let me just recap where we're holding. We're holding by Fiftieth and page 62. And just to recap, the Rebbe began the Fabrengen. Again, this is at the Kinnis HaShluchim HaOlami, where the Rebbe is addressing the Shluchim, the last time that he actually speaks to the Shluchim on the Kinnis HaShluchim. At that Kinnis, the Rebbe opens by saying that from time to time there is an upgrade in Shlichus, and this year, right now, the Rebbe is saying, being that he is the Meshaleach, that he's upgrading the Shlichus to a different level. It's a Chiddush. And it's not a pratistic Chiddush, but it's a Chiddush klali. It's a very general thing, which is going to refocus and reorient all of Shlichus. That all of Shlichus has to go through the shar of the Shlichus. And what's the Shlichus? The Shlichus is that we have to be Makabel P'nei Mashiach Tzidkenu. That's the Inyan. Because since we're living in a time when we finished already all the work, and Mashiach is about to come, so that's our Inyan. The Rebbe says that this is not Stam the connection of Shluchim to Mashiach is not just another job to bring Mashiach, but that the whole inyan of Shlichus is very deeply connected to Mashiach. It's almost like inextricable. It's one inyan, Mashiach and Shlichus. Why? Because Mashiach himself is a Shliach. You say, how to define Mashiach? Mashiach is a Shliach. And he's the Eibishter Shliach to redeem the Jewish people. And we see it from this that Moshe Rabbeinu said, Shlach no b'yad tishlach. And the Rebbe discusses this request of Moshe, and he explains that what Moshe Rabbeinu requested was that his Shlichus as the Goyal Rishon, as the first Redeemer, and Mashiach Shlichus as the final Redeemer should be combined together and become one Shlichus, from one Shliach, and which we know was Taka accepted, because Moshe Rabbeinu and Mashiach are two individuals that are intertwined to the point that they're one neshama, they're one inyan. Fine. So and that is to carry out the ultimate shlichus, and the shlichus is to redeem the Jewish people. And to understand this, being that it was Parshas Chayei Sarah, the Rebbe said the first inyan of shlichus we find is in Parshas Chayei Sarah, where Eliezer was sent to find a shidduch. After a discussion back and forth, the Rebbe crystallizes the idea that Eliezer acted as a shliach, and not as a shatchen, but as a shliach. And the reason how the Rebbe crystallized that Eliezer was a shliach, so he's the first shliach in the world. And why? And why did he have to be a shliach? So the Rebbe says a very geschmacke and very important idea. Since you see that Avram Avinu invested his everything, he took all of his possessions, his entire estate, and kol ashaloi, and gave it for Yitzhak. And that's because this was negeya to Avram Avinu's entire mitzias as a father of the Jewish people. And therefore he had to give it as all of his God, all that he has. So Eliezer also has to have So the shliach who's going to execute this shlichus, this inyan, has to be a shliach and not a shadchan, because a shadchan contributes. A shliach is ibegegeben, his entire metzias. The idea of a shliach is that his entire he's not a metzias on his own. He becomes an extension of the mishaleach. Not so a shadchan, remains a separate entity. Shlucha shaladam kamoisa. He's literally the mishaleach. So again, since Avram Avinu gave it his entire being because of the crucialness of this inyan, because this was his entire future, Eliezer too had to be a shliach. This is what we learned in the second shir. In the third shir, the Rebbe took it and it was last week, which is the last week's shir. The Rebbe took it to the next level. And he said that really this idea of the marriage of Yitzhak and Rivka, not only is it important because it's the father of the Jewish people, but it's because it's really the tachlis, the content of that marriage is the tachlis of all of creation and all of existence. Because the whole purpose of creating the world is for this marriage of what the Rebbe calls it in Kabbalistic terminology, ma and ban. We discussed it last week, I'm not going to go over it today. But the general idea of ma and ban is that ma, it's the yichud of Hashem and the world. It's the yichud of the neshama and the guf. The guf is ban, and the neshama is ma. The two of them unify together, spirit and matter. It brings together the unity between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Knesset Yisroel, we being the female, we're the recipient, we're ban, and the Eibishter is ma. And when Mashiach will come, there will be the fusion of ma and ban, this marriage. And that translates later into the next level of Yichud Ma and Ban, that all of creation, all of the physical world becomes a dira, becomes a home, becomes completely unified with the Eibishter, again, the Yichud of Ma and Ban. That's what all of Torah Mitzvah is all about. And you see it, the marriage of Yitzhak and Rivka was that the first time this happened in a nutshell. Because he explains that Yitzhak is an extremely godly being. He's Kodesh Kadashim. He's after the Akedah, he's born to such tzaddikim, he's like above and beyond. Rivka is part of very much of the world, in a very corrupt world, that represents the world and the darkness of the world. And in a magical moment, the two of them come together and they become mamish one entity, which is impossible, yet it happens. And that's the pella of the purpose of creation, that we take the Eibishter and we unify him completely with the world. And what kind of world? Not the spiritual world, but the Gashmiistic world. So Yitzhak and Rivka represent this fusion of heaven and earth, of the Eibishter and the world, of the Eibishter and Knesset Yisroel, of Neshama and Guf, all this fusion, which is the purpose of all of creation, the marriage of Yitzhak and Rivka. Therefore, so the Rebbe says two things. In addition to it being therefore so important that Avram has to give it his entire being and everything, well, this will also explain another idea why we make such a big deal of when the Torah narrates the story. It's not talking so much about the final wedding; it's mainly discussing the shlichus of Eliezer, which the Rebbe says if it's important because it's such a major thing, and this enabled Matan Torah later to happen. Fine, so pay attention to the marriage itself. The marriage, the Torah maybe spends 3 psukim on the actual marriage, but the whole psukim is about Eliezer doing his work, and the reason for that is because the main player over here is the one who actually actualizes it. And that's the Jewish people throughout all the generations. We're the ones, the shluchim, the ones who make it happen. And the shliach who makes this yichud happen, he is a shliach because in order for him to cause the fusion to happen in the world, he has to personify that fusion in the etzem inyan that he's a shliach, that he or she is a shliach. In the etzem, in the very idea that they're acting as a shliach, that itself is the personification and the actualization of this unification of these two opposites. Because the Rebbe says a shliach has two opposite inyanim. On the one hand, he's an independent being separate from the mashaleach, because you can only make a shliach, you can only make someone who's a bardas, someone that has seichel, someone who has an intellect, has a mind of his own. He's not you. But on the other hand, he has to surrender himself completely over to the Mashaleach, even though he has to retain his identity to use his mind on how to proceed and how to fulfill the shlichus, but he must be totally given over to the shlichus itself. Because he can't decide the agenda. He doesn't set the agenda. The agenda is sent by the Mashaleach. And if he wants to be a shliach, and he has to be following through on what the Mashaleach sent him. And the Rebbe uses sharp words. If the Shliach stops doing what the Mashaleach sent him to do, the Rebbe says the words is ois Shliach. Because the Shliach, the very definition is you're acting on behalf of me. So it has to be on what I sent you to do. Okay. So therefore the Rebbe says, take a look. So there comes out like this. B'tzad echad, he's separate. That's the union of ban, a creation that's separate from the Eibishter. On the other hand, it attaches itself because he gives himself over. He relinquishes his selfhood and becomes a unified with the one who's sending him. And so the example that Rebbe gives is neshama and guf. The neshama is an entity that's totally bottled to the Eibishter. So it's the inyan of, before the neshama comes down, it's the inyan of ma. It's not a metzias. The neshama comes into a body, it becomes a metzias. If you don't work hard and you leave the metzias of the neshama in the body runs off and becomes a rebel, becomes completely, separated, becomes a lowly being, Yisroel, Lavan, and all that dark stuff. So what happens? But now you have to take that body, and the neshama has to gain mastery of the body and bring the body to be a shliach of the Eibishter, and be bottled to the Eibishter. And when the person harnesses his body, which means his separateness, and is mevatel himself to the ratzon of the Eibishter and does his shlichus, and is mevatel himself to the ratzon of the Eibishter, and as a result of that fulfills his shlichus, then in that case he I just got distracted for a second. Hold on. So when the shliach goes and he fulfills the ratzon of, hold on, just give me just a second here. So then he can fulfill that in the world as well by harmonizing the creation and the creator. In other words, when he can do that in himself, taking his separateness and be mevatel to the Mashaleach, he causes this unity to happen in the world as well. Okay. So that's why we pay so much attention on the one who's doing it. Because without us being in that state, as we have to, the way we operate in this whole entire business of shlichus is to be people with minds of our own, yet which is a very tough thing, because when you have a mind of your own, you usually try to, you have an independence, and you feel you want to do what you want to do. So it's a very tough inyan to act as a shliach, because the reason you're being called on the shlichus is because you have opinions and ideas, and you have sophistication, and you have or else a shait, as we said earlier, a fool, an imbecile who has nothing to them, can't. So you have to be a person full of content, and yet you give yourself over completely. It's a very, very difficult thing. But yet, that's the avodah. And when we get it right, in terms of our fusion of guf and body, neshama and guf, and then we translate into the world, we fulfill our ultimate shlichus of this fusion of heaven and earth and unifying the world, and we complete the avodah. Okay. And the last thing we learned in Perek Ches was, and that's why the Rebbe says, just an idea, just a side note, that it's for this reason that this explanation of Yichud, Ma, and Ban in the marriage of Yitzhak and Rivka, the Alter Rebbe puts it in the end of Sefer Likutei Torah, because this is the conclusion of all of our mitzvahs. It's all about this Yichud, all of Torah and mitzvahs, because the Alter Rebbe explains it not in Parshas Vaychayesara, the Alter Rebbe explains it in Parshas V'zei Sabrach. Okay, now we're holding in Fiftieth, and this is where we start today. Okay. So what we just to summarize, one nekuda is that all of Torah and mitzvahs, and all of the entire objective of all of Yiddishkeit of Torah and mitzvahs, which is really the purpose of all of creation and everything, is really the avodah of shlichus, which the avodah of shlichus is to bring a fusion, which is what a shliach is himself, is a being who himself is in fusion, and he creates fusion of the Eibishter and the world, of neshama and guf, and so on and so forth, and which that is Mashiach, the days of Mashiach, when the world, the Geula, which is the ultimate unification. Okay, but now there's one more player over here, and that is after everybody, all the individual Jews throughout all the generations, do their own legwork or footwork, do their own independent work, in getting this all together in their own place, or in their own life, in their own Dalet Amis, there comes one person who takes the avoid of all the Jewish people, of all the generations, some totality of all the human effort that was done, and brings about, scores the touchdown, brings about, crosses the finish line, and gets it all done. So that's the person who has the ultimate shlichus. That will understand the inyan of Mashiach, betor shliach, that he's a shliach, shlach no b'yad tishlach. Stand it in the hand of the tishlach. Mashiach, where do you see Mashiach as a shliach? Because Moshe Rabbeinu said, shlach no b'yad tishlach. Mashiach hu shliach, Mashiach is the shliach, shal yodei nefela shleimus inyan ha-shlichus, which through him it completes the ultimate inyan of shlichus. Yichud ma'oban, this yichud of ma'oban, sheheichul b'shlichus Eliezer ben Asiyach Yitzhak Rivka. It began with the shlich. Eliezer is the first shliach who begins to create this unification of ma'oban in the marriage of Yitzhak and Rivka, and then later this is the empowerment of Matan Torah, which later carries throughout all the generations in one massive shlichus that is divided amongst the millions of shluchim of every neshama coming out into this world, culminating in Mashiach, who completes it, who is the shleimus of it. Which shlichus is this? HaShlichus shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the shliach of the Eibishter. Lahavi es ha'geula amitis v'hashleima, to bring about the complete redemption. Sha'oz tia shleimus ha'yichud shel ha'neshama v'haguf. Then we're going to reach the end goal, which is going to be what? This yichud, which is the shleimus of the yichud of neshama and guf, which is on a personal level. Our neshama and our bodies are going to be completely in fusion. See, now, even though we live, someone can say, well, I'm alive. That means my neshama and my body is in fusion. No. Because the neshama is, think about it, most of our lives, a lot of our time, our neshama is buried in our body. Our neshama is entrapped by the body. The neshama is not being heard. The neshama is not being active. The neshama is being, chas v'shalom, pushed to the side. And when a person is busy, pursuing one's own material, physical pursuits. But when Mashiach will come, and you'll understand that it won't be, that the body is that our lives are going to be permeated 100% of our time, and is going to be filled with our consciousness of our soul. And our body is only going to act as a facilitator to actualize the desires, the movements of the neshama. That's the fusion of neshama and guf, which is going to be by all Yidden when Mashiach will come. And which will lead us to the next stage, that what? Yisroel v'kutshe b'richu kulachad. The fusion of Yidden as neshamas in gufim, which is together make up the ban. You're going to be fused with the Eibishter, who is the man. V'gam ba'olam, and then take it into the next stage. It's going to affect it in the world as well. Shleimus hagilui shel elokus, the shleimus of the revelation of godliness, ba'olam hazeh hagashmi, in this physical world. Ba'oifen, in a manner, sha'olam kuloi nasa dira lo yizbarach b'tachtainim, that the entire world becomes a dira, that everything in the world is an expressor of the Eibishter. The Eibishter is no more trapped in the world. The Eibishter is expressed in the world. So there's a fusion of Eibishter in the world. So now we'll understand. So now we'll understand that Mashiach himself also functions in this duality, which is what? Separateness. He's a being other than Hashem, but he's totally unified with the Eibishter. So the Rebbe is going to explain how you see that in Mashiach himself. The Yichud and Ma'oban. Number one, he's a Metzias la'atzmai. He's an entity on his own. He's a physical human being of flesh and blood. Kiviyachol shel neshama b'guf. He is kiviyachol and neshama in a. It's funny how the Rebbe says kiviyachol, because on Mashiach, can you say he's a real neshama? He's a neshama b'guf. He's one with atzmus and mahus mamish, as we're going to soon see. But kiviyachol, he's of a neshama of a guf, basar v'dam. He's of flesh and blood. And how do we see that? In other words, Mashiach is such a godly force in the world. Maybe it's Eibishter himself. There's actually an opinion that in the Gemara that ain't Mashiach Yisroel. There's no physical Mashiach. It's all the Eibishter that does it. No, but we know that the Psaktin of Rambam is not that way. Shemashiach hu melech mi beis David. He's actual physical king coming from the Davidic house. Hoige b'Torah v'oisik b'mitzvahs, who learns Torah and is oisik b'mitzvahs keDavid Aviv. That doesn't express so much that he's so physical. Maybe he's a godly being who's oisik b'Torah b'mitzvahs. Fine. He's physical, but you don't really. The Rebbe wants to emphasize that he's part of the world, very much an entity part of the world, and that you see mainly from the next part. What does the Rambam add? The next thing about Mashiach, he has to wage wars. that means that Mashiach has to be someone who has opposition, that has to fight things through in the world. And that which if Mashiach would be just an outright bolt of lightning of God, like the Rambam creates a different Mashiach than the fantasies of most Jews throughout all the generations. Well, throughout all generations, people pictured a Mashiach that's going to swoop down from the sky one day from a cloud and come down, and suddenly the whole world will be transformed with the snap of the finger. Then that's great, but then Mashiach can't be a shliach because then he's not part of the world. He's an extraterrestrial being coming from the outside, making a change of ear. He's like an oir eliki in the world, not the world. Since Mashiach has to harness and unify the world with the Eibishter, so he has to be very much a human being within the world. Which, by the way, makes a lot of people hard time to accept the concept that you have a person that you can see and that smiles and waves and says hi and talks like a people and people can see his body and so on and so forth. And the notion that person could be Mashiach is like, whoa, he's so physical, he's so normal. That's part of it. That Mashiach is David HaMoire Shu Nimtza Ba'olam. He finds himself in the world. Shaboy Kayame Menagdim, where he has opposition. Shemeshum Kach Utzarech Lanal Mohammed V'Yinatzeich, he has to fight them. But together with that, who is he? He's bottled to the Eibishter completely, to the point that because he's so bottled to the Eibishter, he becomes kemoisei, literally mamish like the Eibishter himself. Chayei. Now, why does Mashiach have to have these two extremes? In order to affect this in every Jew, that the neshama and the guf of the yid should come together. And where do you see Mashiach does that on every Jew? Al Yedei Yaakov Kol Yisroel Leilach Balach Hazik Bitka. One of the jobs of Mashiach is to influence and to compel every Jew to walk in the ways of Torah. That means that the neshama should be active by every yid. If you're working in the ways of the Torah, it means that the neshama is in control. So it's a yichud of neshama and guf. And the next thing Mashiach, that's one first accomplishment. The second thing is even further. To unify the spiritual and the physical in the world. In Mashiach itself, he has to have these two in Yadim. Both being a basar v'dam, physical, and in a sense, very, 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 very much human and regular, but at the same time, unbelievably godly, because he's totally bottled to the Eibishter. So this is gewaldig. We'll understand the first time that the idea of shlichus is introduced regarding Mashiach is by Moshe Rabbeinu saying, Shlach no b'yad tishlach. So when Moshe Rabbeinu requested Shlach no b'yad tishlach, what did Moshe want with his petition, with his request? Moshe wanted to effect upoyel b'poyel, and he literally effected as a chibur v'hisachtos shel goyel rishon Moshe v'goyel achron Mashiach. Moshe Rabbeinu asked that it shouldn't be two separate inyanim, that his shlichus and Mashiach shlichus should be one shlichus. Why is that so important? Because even though we said earlier that Mashiach himself combines these two inyanim of being the world, but at the same time being elokus, being totally one with the Eibishter, he says, really, the reason the real inyan that Mashiach has it is really because Mashiach is combined with Moshe. Mashiach Mitzad Atzmai is primarily the world. He's the neshama of the world, but he's primarily the world. Moshe Rabbeinu Mitzad Atzmai is not the world. Moshe Rabbeinu is the funnel, the expression of Eibishter. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu is. Because Moshe Rabbeinu in Sfiros, Moshe is Chachma, and Mashiach is Malchus. So Moshe is the Chachma is Koyach Ma, the power of Ma. Moshe Rabbeinu is identityless. His entire Metzius is godliness flowing into this world. Mashiach is the Keli, the vessel that's receiving the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, and more than that, he's the culmination of the purification of the world. All the godliness, all the nitzutze kedusha that are buried within the world are all accumulated in his neshama, rising up to receive the giluyim el-maila, the revelations of Moshe Rabbeinu. And Mashiach takes all the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, and through that, he does his actions in the world with the koyach of Moshe. So here you have, by Moshe and Mashiach being fused together, you create the ultimate shliach. This is like the dream shliach, the most powerful shliach, because he's the combination of these two inyanim of separateness and attachment, as we'll see over here. Moshe mitzad atzmo inyanu yu beikar chachmas. Chachma. His inyan is zichri Torahs Moshe. Torah. Moshe kasav zichru Torahs Moshe Avdi. Remember the Torah of Moshe. Moshe kibel Torah Messina is receiving the Torah. That's his main inyan. Mashiach mitzad atzmo. Mashiach's main inyan is beikar Malchus. He's kingship. Yam, and what we say about Mashiach, Yamod Melech mi Beis David. Now in Sfiros, what's the difference between Chachma and Malchus? Chachma is a window. Chachma is identityless. It's a window for Elokus to come through, to receive and for light to come. Malchus is the creation, is the energy of the creation. More than that, the whole inyan that the world is a davar nifrad. It's separated from Hashem, and it has an identity, comes dafka from Sfiros of Malchus. Malchus creates that the world should be, as we spoke before, last week, we spoke, that's the whole inyan of Ban. Ban means it distorts the Yehudi Allah, it distorts the ultimate truth that we don't feel Einoid Mulvadoi. The world takes on a certain sense of beingness, of separateness, and that's Moshe, and that's the inyan, and that's Malchus, that all comes from Malchus. But here it is, the fusion, that Malchus becomes totally unified with Chachma. There's similar to the difference between the quality of the mashpia, chachma, roisha spheres. From all the spheres, chachma is the mashpia, it's the influencer. And the quality of the makabel, it's almost like Moshe Rabbeinu and Mashiach. Moshe Rabbeinu is neshama and Mashiach is guf, right? Because Malchus is guf, and kalim, vessels, guf. And Chachma is oir, neshama. Al derech hachelik ben oir hashemesh mashpia, similar to the light of the sun, which is the mashpia. V'oir halavana, and the light of the moon, makabel, malchus. What's the moon? The moon is a keli to receive the light of the sun. Hakashanim David Malka Mashiach. That's connected to David Malka Mashiach. So what do we have over here? Moshe kibel Torah Messina Yom Masara, who kibel es kol Torah. He is makabel all the Torah. Shehu makar kol hashbas. He's the source which the Torah is makar kol hashbas. It's the source of all hashba. Umemenu nimshach hakoyach al kol inyan. And this is where the koyach comes. This is the godly flow, and it's the koyach for everything. Koydel hakoyach legiula. It even includes the power for redemption. Gama geula sida, even the future redemption. In Yonah shel Mashiachu, but what's the inyan of Mashiach? Goyal Achron, who is the light. So Moshe Rabbeinu was Goyal Rishon. He gives the empowerment. Mashiach is Goyal Achron. Shuba b'soifa avoid. He comes after all the work is done. Malchus, soifa spheres, the end of all the spheres. B'soif zman agolas. He comes at the end, not just in the end of time. He comes in the darkest time, at the end of Golas. Moshe Rabbeinu is in the time of the ultimate godly revelation. Mashiach comes in the end, in the time of the darkest period. But even though the Mashpia is so much brighter, the Makabel is so much deeper, as we know. That the Makabel is Sha'al Yedei Bitulai. True, the world on its own is the lowest, separate, disconnected. But when the world becomes bottle, because that's the whole idea that we spoke earlier, that when a neshama comes down in the guf, it has to take the guf and bring the guf to be bottle. So now the Rebbe says two in Yana. Number one, once the guf becomes a keli, which in our case the guf gadol, the whole world is a big body, and Mashiach again is the soul of the world. Okay, so he represents the ultimate keli. Okay, so when that keli is in a state of bittul, which means it's now finally open to receive, it absorbs in it, the keli takes in it as kol hashpa small maila, all the hashpa from above. In other words, all that Moshe Rabbeinu was pouring from above, all that godly light, is contained and is received in the vessel. But in that sense, Moshiach is not lacking anything that Moshe has because he is the keli to receive it all. But now he adds even more. Once the keli becomes a keli to receive everything that the mashpia has to offer, then the keli, the makabel, exceeds the mashpia, rises even beyond the mashpia. Va'adarab, oira makabel, the light of the makabel, magia, arrives, v'noiveya, and it's flowing, medarge nailas yosim oira mashpia, even higher than the mashpia. It's not a subject for now, but this is the idea of Eishes Chayel HaTeres Baila, that the makabel is rooted higher than mashpia. Kfishi Yesgala Bagula Mitzvah Vashlema, that's going to be revealed when Mashiach comes, shenekevet tesoivev gever, that the woman is going to surround her husband, which means she's going to be higher than the mashpia. Mailas haguf shel Yehudi, like we know that there's going to be a quality of the body of a Jew, legabe neshmasei, compared to his neshama. Shedafka boy nimtza koyach atzmus. We know that even though Moshe Rabbeinu, the Chachma, is very, very powerful, and it's the ultimate revelation of the Eibishter, it's lacking in etzem. It's the light of God, it's the expression of God, but not the essence. Essence is only revealed when that oyer goes down into the makabel, into the kalim of the makabel. The makabel's keli is rooted in atzmos itself, in the essence of the Eibishter, which we can appreciate and understand is not even infinite higher. It's completely on a complete different level. We can't even say infinite. It's beyond. To the point that when Mashiach will come, the body will be so powerful that the body is going to feed the neshama. Similar to that, Mashiach, think about it. What does the Rambam say about Mashiach? How does Mashiach conduct his life? Mashiach's entire life is one thing. He learns Torah, and he executes the Torah. That means everything Mashiach has is from Moshe Rabbeinu. He doesn't have anything of his own. But in the end, when he finalizes his job, guess what? He becomes the teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu becomes the student. That's what he says. Alechein dafka Mashiach tzedkeinu. Yavi as HaGeula, he's going to bring the Geula. HaGeula v'hashleima shel kol anyanim. He's mashlim. He brings perfection to everything. Gam shel Moshe Rabbeinu, even to Moshe Rabbeinu. So when the makabel, the recipient, reaches that bittul to the mashbiach, again, it starts off as something independent and separate. It has a yeshus of its own, but it needs to be mevatel itself. And when it's mevatel itself completely, it rises above the mashbiach. So again, so what do we have over here? So now that we have the fusion of Moshe and Mashiach, which is the idea of a shliach, which has these fusion of, on the one hand, separateness, on the other hand, he becomes batel. This that Moshe Rabbeinu now affected the idea of shlach nabiyat tishlach al yedei zeh shegoyel rishon goyel achron, and by bringing about that the goyel rishon should become goyel achron, the later goyel kenis kelsiv beis nifal hayichut shel shnei inyanim v'amaylas. He affected these two inyanim to come together. Asher, and the Rebbe is now going to point out that you see that in Mashiach himself he has these two qualities. Asher b'Mashiach yeshnam shnei inyanim v'amaylas. Now it's really Moshe Rabbeinu is the mashpia and Mashiach is the makabel. But once Mashiach receives it from Moshe, and once Moshe Rabbeinu affected that the two of them should become one, so since Moshe Rabbeinu is in Mashiach, Mashiach has Moshe inside of him as well. So that's why we know about Mashiach that he's going to have two things. He's going to be a Rav, he's going to be a teacher, he's going to be a king. His kingship qualities come to him from being a descendant of Yehuda, from being a king. His royalty comes from being a royal. That's the makabel, that's the recipient. His mashpia qualities come to him from being a rebbe, a teacher. And a teacher, what does he teach Mashiach? Pnimiyas HaTorah. That he's getting from Moshe Rabbeinu. Noisel Azeshu Melech, Ugam Rav, Chochma. He will teach Torah to the whole generation. Gam Moshe Rabbeinu, even to Moshe Rabbeinu, v'avos and our forefathers. And now the Rebbe says, just like Mashiach is primarily a melech, but he's also a teacher, because of his fusion with Moshe, and he becomes such a teacher that he even teaches Moshe. The same happens to Moshe Rabbeinu. He has also the quality of king. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is primarily a teacher, he's mainly Chachma. But because Moshe fuses with Mashiach, he also becomes a king. Because by Moshe Rabbeinu we know it says Vayhi b'Yeshurah Melech, that he was amongst Yeshurah and amongst the Jewish people, he was a king. Now we can say, we know that Mashiach and Shliach are the same gematria, but there is a difference. In order to get from Shliach Mashiach, you need to add 10. That means that and what is that? That's the 10 koiches. When the Shliach adds his 10 koiches, then he reveals the Mashiach inside of it. But let's understand and that applies to Mashiach himself. That he starts off as a Shliach, but in order for him to bring Mashiach, the Shliach, who is really Mashiach, in order for him to materialize as Mashiach, he needs to activate his 10 koiches. Why dafka 10 koiches? Because 10 koiches means from Chachma to Malchus. Chachma is the highest, Malchus is the last. And Chachma and Malchus is this fusion that we spoke about earlier. So that's how he can truly fulfill his objective of being a Shliach, by integrating his Chachma and Malchus, and as it applies to Mashiach, he's both a Rav and a Melech. With all his 10 koiches, Chachmat Malchus, from Chachma to Malchus. Okay, let's do quickly Yud Aleph. Now, based on what it is known. So this is very nice. This is talking about Mashiach. Now, what does it have to do with me and you and everybody over here? So we know that both these two individuals, Moshe and Mashiach, each and every one of us has both Moshe and Mashiach. The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya where every Jew has a Moshe inside of him. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu can expect every Jew to fear God, because, and he said it's a small thing because the Moshe. And we also know there's a spark of Mashiach in every person. Moving, it's understood. Every Jew has these two inyanim. Every Jew is a shliach of the Eibishter to serve his Creator. The klalis shlichasai, and the klalis of every person shlichus entails two things. Number one, lahoyer ala aretz. Number one, you have to act like Moshe Rabbeinu. You have to be a window to shine light on other people. That means every single person is supposed to be an influencer of inspiration, of insight, of enlightenment to other people. So that in that sense, you're like Moshe Rabbeinu. You're channeling. To light up the world and your community, and your family, and then your body with what? With the light of holiness, and with a godly light. And now you have two inyanim on how you do that. Which are represented by the two. Today is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, so there's a yichud, by the way, of the sun and the moon. So this is this yichud that we're talking about over here, that a person has to have a fusion of being, you have to be a sun and you have to be a moon. Moira Gadol, the large mole, and Moira Katan, and the small, the large luminary and the small one. The Abish to put the entire world into each person. Every single Jew has the entire planet inside of him. So we have each and every one a sun and moon. Every single one of us has to be a mashpia somewhere. Shemesh. We also have to be a makabel. For instance, give me an example. Right now, we are all acting as a makabel. Why are we makabel? Because we're learning Torah. We're receiving the Rebbe's sichas. So every single day, each and every one of you and myself and all of us have to sit down to a certain part of the day and be a makabel. By doing what? We have to learn a sikha, we have to open up, we have to watch it. Whatever it is, we have to absorb godliness from above. We have to receive from a teacher. And that we're a makabel. But then it's not enough. Okay, I'm inspired, I'm great. Now what? Now you need to take that inspiration and inspire other people. And then you become a shemesh, you become an illuminary to others, right? You become one, both. You're also a levana. Each one has a mile. Now more specifically, these are the two inyanim that you need to be as a shliach. Bittul and mishaleach. You have to have bittul to the mashaleach. Al derech levana. Remember we said earlier. So the fact that we learn the sichas and we don't decide, for example, what we're going to do on our own. We have to see what it says that we should do, and that's what we have to do. So we have to be mevatel ourselves. So and in a yid's life, outside of Rebbe Chassid, but in a yid's life in general, a yid has to learn Torah and be mevatel himself to the mashaleach. So then you're a makabel. On the other hand, you're a metzias b'fnei atzmai. You have to be a metzias onto your own, bardas. Shemavara ba'atzmai ba'amtzoi sichloi ishi. You have to figure out on your own seichel keitzad olav lamalash lichusa. In that sense, you have to project. Al derech shemesh lahoyer al haaretz. You have to be like you can't wait to receive. As the Rebbe spoke many times, all the directives exactly. You have to be an innovator. You have to have your own creativity in it. But again, it's all within the context of your bittul. Now, since Moshe Rabbeinu and Mashiach, who represent these two inyanim, Moshe being the mashpia, and Mashiach being the levana, the bittul, goyal rishon and goyal achron, they're both one person. This gives every Jew to have the koyach, to have both. As a shliach, he should unify these two inyanim. I'm skipping the little parentheses over here, because I want to get to the next. I am going to take you a little bit longer, because we have to finish this today, or else we're going to lose the whole oomph of it, and it's going to be a little longer, the class. But I promise you that you're not going to be disappointed when we're going to see, especially from Yud Beis and onward, words that are mamish unbelievable. This is like, whatever, it's mind-blowing. Based on what we said before. Since the koyach of shlichus comes from the first shlichus in the Torah, everything we get empowerment from the Torah. So the Torah's first time the Torah relates to us the inyan of shlichus is from Eliezer, who is the shliach to marry, to create this fusion through Yitzhak and Rivka. Moving on came, shekeshem shebeshlichus harishayna, just like in the first shlichus, nasan Avraham ha'mashaleach kol ha'shaloi. Avram Avinu gives all that he has. Hoyel v'zen agei l'milu yashlichus b'shleimusa. In other words, how much is invested in this shlichus? Avram Avinu gives all of his belongings, and it means also besides his physical, he gives all of his spiritual koiches. Everything he invests in Eliezer for him to be successful. Shekol pratim va'anyonim yichadurim b'nekuda klal sheyichud ma'oban. In other words, he gives it his all in order to bring about this yichud of Maayon, Nasiya, Yitzhak, Rifka, which is what the idea of this marriage of Yitzhak and Rivka is. The same as in the shlichus of every yid. L'shamesh eskaini, where each and every one of us is a shliach l'shamesh eskaini, to serve our Creator. Hu makabel kaviyachol. Here, this unbelievable words that Rebbe says. Take a look. Each and every one of us doesn't have an excuse that we can't, whatever, I don't know how I'm going to do it, I'm a little bit, I don't have koiches, I don't have money, I don't have abilities, I don't have the talent, I don't have the whatever. No. Every yid receives kol asher loi. Just like when Avram sent a shliach, he gave him kol asher loi. The Eibishter gives kol asher loi. What is that? Mama shaleach. God gives you everything. God doesn't keep anything. Every koyach the Eibishter has, he gives you. To the koyach of atzmus mahus, Hashem's very being. Hakoyel as kol hashaloi. If you have the koyach of atzmus, then you have all the giluyim, all the powers from all the worlds is given to each and every one of us. In order to see through this yichud of our neshama and our body, that neshama and body should get married, that the body should feel the neshama every moment and every aspect of its doing. The body should function in fusion with the neshama. That all of our details and in our avodah nasim chadurim become completely permeated, begilui, in a revealed way, that all of our work becomes permeated with one inyan, hagilui shel Mashiach tzedkenu, the revelation of Mashiach tzedkenu, which is what? Who completes this whole avodah. Until we don't have the gilui of Mashiach tzedkenu, the Rebbe is saying two things. Meaning, it's going to be completed by the Geula. But in order for the Geula to happen, there has to be the Giloi of Mashiach Tzedkenu himself. Shleimus inyan hashlichus of Yichud Ma'am, which is the teichen of all of our avodah to bring about the Giloi of Mashiach himself. Okay, so now we have to fasten our seat belts. Now, all of this is all very nice. This is really, in all the generations, every single yid is a shliach in his own work to bring about this and to fuse these two inyanim. He starts off as a metzias and all these, whatever we spoke about earlier. But in our generation, especially, in which there's a chidush in shlichus. The Frierdiker Rebbe, my father-in-law, Mina, he appointed kol echad ve'echad mi Yisroel the doir zeh. First of all, it's amazing. The Rebbe says that the Frierdiker Rebbe, which of course we understand, it's him and the Frierdiker Rebbe together, right? So he appointed every single Jew liya shluchai. Every Jew is the shliach of the Rebbe. Ba'afatzas ha'Torah v'yahadus, to spread Torah and Yiddishkeit, v'afatzas ha'mayonas chutza, and to spread mayonas outside. Meaning way outside the institution of shlichus, every single yid, doesn't make a difference. Chabad Chassidic, this kind of Chassid, non-Chassid. Everyone is a shliach of the Nasi of the generation, because we're going to see of the shliach of the generation, of the prime shliach. He makes everybody shluchim for this shlichus. And what's the shlichus? That everybody is to spread Yiddishkeit and Chassidus, and to the final goal, Lavas Agula Mitzvah Vashlema. Everybody is a shliach to help bring about the Gula Mitzvah Vashlema. Now, this idea that everybody's a shliach today's days, where do we see it? So the Rebbe says an amazing thing. You see it in actuality. Since everybody was given the shlichus in our generation, this wasn't the shlichus in earlier generations. In earlier generations, you were directly responsible to the Eibishter in the sense that Hashem sent you neshama down in this world to be a shayim Torah mitzvahs. But the fact that you became responsible for your environment, for your community, for your place, that's a new inyan. The Rebbe says, the Rebbe, the Shver, the Frierdiker Rebbe, is mamana every single person to be a shliach, to influence the world. Now, how do we see that literally? He says, he says it's much easier today to explain people that even people who till now didn't have at least in a revealed way, they didn't have a shaykhis that they need to become responsible people for others. It used to be that everybody was a tzaddik in Peltz. Everybody did their own thing. Everybody made Shabbos for their own. Today's days, and even in Lubavitch, when the Rebbe wanted to send people for shluchim, there was a lot of resistance. Today, everybody wants to be a shliach. It's like everybody's signing, and we don't have enough shluchim to send, right? But it's not only in Chabad. You find it in general. People in the entire Jewish world, people want to be influencers on communities. People want to, and everybody in some way, people want to, you have your WhatsApp groups, you have your, and people that until now were so isolated and so minding their own business, everybody becomes a conduit and a spreader of light in their influence. And what you never saw in history. It's now. And people are so like cool with the idea that we're supposed to do that. And why is that? Because that's the way it is biyatzem. Because the Meshaleach appointed everybody to be the Shliach. In addition to their own personal avodah, every person also has the responsibility. To be a Shliach, to be mashpia. Of your qualities, whatever you know, and other people. Beginning with your own family members, and your friends, and your acquaintances, and anybody you can reach. Then here there's something added. Those people that had the merit, that from amongst the entire Jewish people, from amongst the Jewish people at all, they were chosen, selected, to be the shluchim of the Nasi of the generation. What makes them unique is that their entire avodah, their 24 hours, kulai completely mukadeshes lamili shlichusam, is designated to the fulfillment of their shlichus. Ba'afatas ha'Torah v'yahadus, and spreading Torah and Yiddishkeit. Ba'afatas ha'mayonas chutza, and spreading the mayonas u'ba'avos ha'giyula. That now there's people that have devoted their entire life, them, their wives, their families, entire to one inyan, to spread Yiddishkeit and spread afatas and spread mayonas, with the ultimate intention to bring the giyula. Okay, so that's the way it has been. Where shluchei adonenu, to bring Mashiach tzedkeinu, right? We know the song. But now is the chiddush. And how much more so? Now when all these shluchim come and create this incredible powerhouse, because they all get together in Crown Heights, which this brings benefit, it's nice to them, and it's nice to the entire world. It brings tremendous benefit for them and for the whole world. Now when we say it brings benefit for the world, it means oilam gam aloshan helam v'hester. Also from the meaning of concealment. In other words, even the world that is meanwhile concealing on God benefits from the kinnis hashluchim. And specifically, it is the global kinnis hashluchim. And the Rebbe takes the word oilam over here and says that the meaning of global kinnis hashluchim doesn't only mean global, but it means it's the kinnis hashluchim that are the ones that are going to undo the oilam, the helam, the hester, the concealment. Their objective is to remove any last bit of helam, the hester, and concealment on God. Shluchim that are found literally across the entire planet. Their avodah is to be mavatal, the concealment of the world, until the world becomes a home for Hashem. In a manner of total fusion of Yah. Basically, what the Rebbe just said is the Rebbe is saying there was never people that had a greater achrayas. Think about it, because they're the ones who were chosen at the very end to bring about the completion, to remove the hell and the hester in the world, and to finalize this yichud. Okay, that's until Tafshin Nun Aleph. Now take a look in Perek Yud Gimel. Bezeguf, and this itself, this is true about every kinnis hashluchim. There's a new chiddush this year. The regarding of our shlichus, how it's connected to the shlach na b'yat tishlach, the ultimate shlichus, hashlichus shel Mashiach tzedkeinu. Now, this year the shluchim from Tafshin Nun Aleph and L'chura and onward. There's no reason why this changed. Okay, and that there is a new chiddush in the connection between avodas hashlichus and Mashiach and the shlichus of Mashiach. What? Dibli El, we said already in Sif Aleph, shekvod kedushas ma'odechami ad menasidah reinu idea, that the Frierdiker Rebbe already announced, shekvar saimu es kol inyonei avodah. We finished already the job. Everything is done already. Everything was done, and we're standing already prepared to receive Mashiach. Like we see this many times, also in this, that in the Murois, in the occurrences of the world, many in Yonim of Geula happened already. Beginning with the Siman in Yalkut Shemaini, that the time of the redemption has arrived. The Rebbe says, we're seeing already in the, meaning, the Friedrich Rebbe says, we finished everything already. Now the Rebbe is saying that we're seeing it actually in the world. We started seeing already Simanim of the Geula. The Yalkut Shemaini, which deals about the Persian Gulf War, the time of redemption has arrived. Kingships, empires are rubbing against each other. They're befrat Medina Sa'arvi, and particularly in the Arab countries. Okay. The Kvarneskayim has simin shalashana sha'avra, and the simin of the previous year is already fulfilled. Shnas tia shnas neflois arenu by safa b'shana zu v'hoylech v'nimshach tia shnas neflois ba b'toicha. The miracles are continuing. Shazan neflois nas amahus. In other words, last year the Rebbe says in Tafshin Nun Aleph we saw miracles. Nun Aleph, miracles arenu neflois. But this year neflois ba, that the miracles have become the very nature of time itself. The year itself, its content is miracles. V'atoichen v'neshama shal neshama. It has become pnimius. It has become the content of the year. V'royim b'poyel. Now hear these lines. And now, okay, very good. This is all simanim that we see in the world. V'royim b'poyel, and we see literally, eich shehiskayim u'miskayim v'yilcha mulchamas Hashem. We're seeing that Mashiach has to wage wars. So we're seeing that those wars that Mashiach has to wage is now taking place. And take a look. V'inatseach b'kama v'kama inyan. Mashiach, wherever he is, okay, the Rebbe is not telling us anything over here. He's saying Mashiach is doing what? He's already affecting in the world, and he's winning many battles. V'dafka metoich Muhammad shel shalom, and he's not fighting with a gun and with a rifle. It's a war of peace, but yet he's plowing through. And hear these words: V'nitzachan ugam aloshen nitzchias. Nitzachan is also eternity, which means that his nitzachan is not temporary, that he won a few battles and then chas v'sholem things roll back to what it was before, like some people want to say. That, we had certain victories in Mashiach, but then chas v'sholem he was defeated. It didn't work out. The Rebbe says nitzachan is b'loshen nitzchias. It means eternal. And also take a look at this. Kasheru magilui shel netzach. It's connected to the revelation of netzach. What's the word netzach? Netzach. The Rebbe breaks the word netzach down. Nun gilui shar hanun. In other words, the power that we're seeing in Mashiach, in Tafshin Nun Beis, the Rebbe is saying the power that we're seeing, Mashiach being victorious, is connected to the word netzach. Nun is the revelation of the 50th gate, which is the Atzmos, which is the revelation of the light of Mashiach, is the light of the 50th. Tzadik is Shnasat Tzadik. It's the 90th year. Kefi shebnei Yisroel karu l'shana zu. Now hold it. Why is Tafshin Nun Beis Shnasat Tzadik? In what sense is it Shnasat Tzadik? Shnasat Tzadik. It's the 90th year. What is it in the 90th year? It's the Rebbe's 90th birthday. So it's interesting. So he's talking about it. So he's Mekasher, Mashiach Tzidkenu's Netzach, would it be Shnasat Tzadik? Now, I would say that from this itself, Lav Dafka, if you want a Dafka be a challenge, you can say that it's Shnasat Tzadik Mitzad Rebbe. Which is doing what as our Rebbe, doing Mashiach work in the world, and that's helping the nitzachin of Mashiach. Whatever. Okay, I'll give that. Okay, let's say. But again, I'm not saying that that's clear. But I'll be past this. 90% of the mashmois is that the netzach of Yenatseach of Mashiach Tzidkenu is the 50th, which is Nun Sharei Bina. And it's Tzadik, the Shnas, this year is called Shnas HaTzadik, which is Shaykh to the Nitzachin of who? The one who is Menatseach. Okay. V'ches, Agilu Shal Mashiach Tzidkenu, which is 8. HaKosh Mis B'Shmoyne Shmoyne Sichiyot. Al Kapanim. So what do we see now? We're already past we finished all the work. The avodah of Mashiach, we're seeing already Mashiach occurrences in the world and the wars that were taking place. We're seeing the victory in many ways of Mashiach Tzidkenu, that he's winning certain battles. Now, Mizeh move, and it's understood. So now, after we're holding in the time, after we started Avodah Sashlichus, We completed the beginning of the work of spreading Torah, Yiddishkeit, and Chassidus across the world. But we didn't only finish the first stage. And we're already holding after the middle stage. But not just that. We finished already the shlichus. How do we know that? We can't decide that. The Meshaleach decides that. The Meshaleach let us know. The Rebbe is troubled. The Geula didn't come. We have to say. There's one thing that's left to do in order to bring the Geula. Okay? Again, we finished already everything. And everything is done already. And it has to, and now Mashiach has to be here. But it seems like it didn't come yet. So one more thing needs to be done. And the Rebbe is going to say, and that's what our shlichus now is, the upgrade. He said that there's a nitoisiv chidush. What's the chidush? So he's now going to drop this revelation upon us. He's now going to, it's really, I don't say drop a bomb, because it is a bomb. He's now going to reveal to us what is that shlichus that we haven't done yet, which is now our responsibility to do. And hear these words. Again, this is not me talking, and this is, I'm just reading to you what our Meshaleach, who we so revere and so respect and so are devoted to, and we believe that every word coming from his mouth is Shechina Medaberes Matech Groine Shel Moshe. And as we said earlier, that we need to be totally ibigigeben to what the Shlichus says. So that's what he says. That in every generation it's born one person from the descendants of Yehuda. That is fitting to be. That this is the Rebbe's quoting from the Chassam Sofer. That in every generation there's someone born who is awaiting to be the goyel of the Jewish people. Someone who is fitting based on his righteousness. He is worthy to be the goyel. I'm sorry, the previous statement that I said is from the Bar Tanura. The Bar Tanura says in every generation there's someone born from Yehuda that is worthy to be Mashiach. This quote that I'm quoting, that he's quoting now, is from the Chassam Sofer. Someone who is a tzaddik, he's worthy because of his tzidkis to be the Redeemer. And when the time arrives, Hashem himself is going to reveal himself to him and is going to send him chulu. Now, okay, so we know that that's the case, that there is meant to be a person who is going to get, at a certain point, he's going to get dispatched by God to be the goyel of the Jewish people. Now watch this. And according to the notification of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and hear these words, our only shliach, and the only Mashiach in the generation, to the exclusion of everyone else, to the exclusion of, there's a lot of Gedolei Yisroel, there's a lot of Rabbonim and Chshuvim and everybody's got a shlichus, but the primary shliach, who is the shliach to this generation, in charge over all shlichus of the entire Jewish project in the world, the Rebbe says is a shliach hayochid shebederenu, is the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he's also Mashiach hayochid shebederenu. Okay. And what did he tell us? Shekvar saimu es kol enyanim. And the only shliach, who's the only Mashiach, tells us that everything has been finished already. Harei movin, it's understood. Hear these words. This makes your hair and your head stand up. It's now starting to be materialized. The shlichus that is given to Mashiach, shlach no biyat tishlach, send the shliach, who is Mashiach, to execute the Geula. Hashlichus shall kvoid kedushas moiri chami admor. The shlichus of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbe is spelling it out. The shlichus of the Frierdiker Rebbe, that what? Who is the shlach no biyat tishlach that Moshe Rabbeinu was asking for, which is the shlichus to be goyel the Jewish people. Move on. So now Mashiach is standing by the door and he's ready to redeem the Jewish people. Move on from all this leads us to the conclusion. Shahadavar hayochid shenishar achshav b'avodas hashlichus. The only thing that's left over now in our avodas hashlichus is what? Hu lekabel es pnei Mashiach tzedkenu b'poyel mamish. To receive, I'm just going to translate the words, to receive the face of Mashiach tzedkenu in the literal sense, b'poyel mamish, in the literal sense, b'chdei sheyuchel lekayem es shlichosai, in order that he should be able to do his shlichus. We finished doing our shlichus. Now it's time for him to snap his fingers and do his shlichus to reveal all of this. But in order for him to do that, he needs to be received as Mashiach, because he's the Melech, and we're accepting him as the Melech. I don't have. Do you have any other interpretation of what this means? Lekabel p'nei Mashiach tzedkenu, to receive. See, if the Rebbe would say, okay, we finished already all of our work, and now we have to just become Mashiach conscious. And we have to realize that we're living in the times of Mashiach, and therefore we have to wait for Mashiach's coming. The Rebbe is not saying that. He's saying the avoid, and how do you prove that? The whole piece over here is the Rebbe is connecting it to the person who needs to do it. And every generation there is someone here who is ready to do it. And the moment everything is done, the Eibishter will reveal to him, hey, you have a green light, go. Now, but he can't go because he has to be a melech. What I'm saying. In other words, he doesn't say over here that he explains it in other places that he has to be a melech, which a melech below yam. But here he says, in order for him to be able to do his shlichus in the literal, and to take all the people out of Golos. Dvar zeh, and this has to be done. And that's the job of the shluchim. Dvar zeh oimid bad gasha yesera b'Shabbos Parshas Chayei. Now this thing is standing even more b'had gasha. Shaba karu oides hashlichus shashalach Avram es Eliezer l'nasiya Yitzhak v'Rivka. Now let's understand. I just want to review one more thing, and I'm sorry I'm taking a little bit more time because this is worth the few extra minutes that we're taking for it. So let's understand something here. This is not that the Rebbe said this to someone in Yechidus privately. It's not that this was written up to one person in a letter. It's not that we're talking about the Rebbe addressing the Kinnis HaShluchim, talking to all the Shluchim, the last time, and he's defining. And he says very clearly that you can only be a Shliach. Again, let's say these words. You can only be a shliach if you're fulfilling your shlichus that the Mashalech has sent you. And now he's going, and he says it's all because he knows how difficult it's going to be. He knows we're not dealing with over here with something that's going to be a piece of cake. He knows we're dealing with the hardest, probably shlichus that we have to do. But this is the reason it's the hard. The emphasis, it's not hard. It's hard because our own psychological barriers and our own insecurities that make it hard. But al kapanim, sometimes those are the hardest obstacles. So there is this big obstacle that we have, and we're terrified of this. We're terrified of this. So the Rebbe is saying, you should know, this is your shlichus. Because everything is done. Everything is done. This is the last thing that needs to be done. The Jewish people need to receive and accept Pnei Mashiach Tzedkenu. So this thing is more Bahad Gasha, the Rebbe says. In the year, in Parshas Chayei, we're reading about the Shlichus Shashalach Avram Yitzhak Rivka. Shezen noisen asa koyach al konen yonei hashlichus. This gives us the koyach. When Avram Avinu imbued Eliezer with the koyach, this gives today's days every shliach the koyach. Ubemiyuchid shleimus inyan hashlichus shel Mashiach Tzedkenu. It gives the koyach, the ultimate shlichus of Mashiach himself. Now someone is going to argue, and here is where obviously a big obstacle becomes. All of this would be nice and wonderful before Gimel Tammuz. Then all this is make okay that if we would have only had Seichel before Gimel Tammuz, and Taka ran with this and done what we needed to do, maybe we would have not ever had to go through what we went through. But now that there was Gimel Tammuz, so this. So first of all, okay, so if Gimel Tammuz happened, then you think that as a result of that, the whole thing ended, that the whole thing is Nishne Geya. So then Mamanashach, if this part of Shlichus has ended, so who exactly is the one who measures and puts us back and says, okay, now you go back to the Shlichus of 1970s, or the Shlichus of 1960s, and who exactly is the decider of this? And why does that Shlichus continue and this Shlichus done? The emphasis, the Rebbe said that the Avodah was done already. The Rebbe said, this is the avodah that's left to do. But even if we have such questions, I think the next piece is just pure, it's very cryptic, I'm sorry. The next piece is mamish a cryptic piece, and it's like, why in the world is the Rebbe saying what he's saying? But I think it's very clear that the Rebbe is being meramez clearly to the period that we're in right now. So let's read it inside. The Noisef Lezeh, in addition to this, Zeu Gam Shabbos Mevorchim Rosh Chodesh Kislev. It's connected to now. So Shabbos Mevorchim Chodesh Kislev. B'Shana Zu Shnei Yomim Rosh Chodesh. It's 2 days Rosh Chodesh. Chodesh HaGeula. Chodesh Matan Torah, the Pnim. No, this year it's 2 years. It's 2 days Rosh Chodesh. And which Chodesh is it? It's Chodesh HaGeula. The Chodesh Matan Torah, the Pnimius HaTorah. It's the Chodesh of Matan Torah of Pnimius HaTorah. HaChodesh HaShlishi B'mei HaGshamim. So here's the Rebbe's interesting thing. It's the third month. Matan Torah is the third month in the summer. There's the third month in the winter. Keneged HaChodesh HaShlishi B'mei HaKayetz, which corresponds to the third month in the winter, Chodesh Sivan. HaChodesh of Matan Torah Niglas. The Chodesh of Matan Torah of the revealed Torah is given to us in Kislev, and this is the Chodesh of Matan Torah of Pnimis HaTorah, Kislev, because it's in the winter. And here the Rebbe adds a parenthetical thing. The L'chura has nothing to do with this entire talk, and it doesn't belong in this thing, other than the Rebbe addressing L'chura, Nevuah, prophecy, call it whatever you want, regarding the future. Because I'm going to read to you, and you tell me. Ula Hoysef. Shegeshamim Kshurim, it's the third month in the winter. The winter is what called Yemei HaGshamim, the time of rain. So Kshamim Kshurim Gam Hem L'Shluchus Shel Mashiach. Rain is also connected to Mashiach's Shlichus. Which Shlichus? Mulmata L'mayla. The Shlichus of Mashiach in the manner Al Derech Levana, similar to the moon, which works Mulmata L'mayla. What is that? Some kind of Mashiach has a Shlichus that is related to be similar to rain. And what is that? Ve'ei di'ala min ha'aretz, that a mist rises from the ground. When it talks about rain in Bereshis, it says the mist rises from the ground. So hear these words. Shadafka min ha'aretz, dafka from the earth, which is ban. We learned earlier the power of ban. Neshama biguf, a neshama that's in a body. Now, this is the shlichus of Mashiach. That from the body, from the earth, which is his neshama being in an earthy body. Nasa ma'achumri is gashmias. So he elevates his chumrias and it becomes gashmias. The difference between gashmias and chumrias is coarse gashmias, and gashmias is refined, physical. Umahagashmias nasa aid. And the gashmias turns into a thin mist. Yesoida avir. It turns into air. Hayesoida dak biyoser. It becomes very, very, very edel. And what happens to that gashmias that becomes this ear? Sheyayla l'mayla mayla. It will rise. It's Mashiach shlichus. It rises up. It's the physical body of Mashiach that rises up. And how far does it rise? L'mayla yoisem meruach elikim erachefes al pnei hamayim. It's going higher than, because if it's air goes higher than water. So it says that as the aid is, so there's the water, and on top of the water there's ruach elokim erachefes, which the Rashi says, the Medrash says, Ruach shel melech HaMashiach. The spirit of Mashiach is hovering above the water. Okay, Mashiach's body. I don't know. Again, the Rebbe didn't say Mashiach's body. The Rebbe says it's kosher to the avodah of Mashiach, which is connected to part of his shlichus. That's from the earth, and the Rebbe explains that it doesn't mean just regular material. You might say it's the avodah of taking the material things and elevating them. No, listen to the words again. He says neshama beguf. He's talking about the neshama of in the guf. We're talking about a guf. That from that guf becomes chumriyas gashmiyas. From gashmiyas becomes this very fine aid, this mist that goes up higher than the spirit of Mashiach. That means the body rises higher than the soul. Zerucha shel melech Mashiach. Ma'achar shenases atchia, which because becomes the tchia samesim betar neshamasai the kvoid kedushas mardechami admor b'payil mamish, which becomes the neshama of kvoid kedushas of the Frierdiker Rebbe b'payil mamish keneshama beguf. In other words, it rises up, and then again, it's hard to figure out what these words mean. I'm not going to tell you that I understand, but the closest explanation that makes sense bichlal of what is being spoken over here is that the Rebbe is telling us something about Mashiach shlichus of a neshama rising into an aid, and an aid going up higher than Ruchai, and then it descends as tchias hamesim b'tar nishmasei the kvoid kedushas mardechami admor k'neshama beguf v'lo yirak kafi shehu ruach, and he shouldn't remain in a level of ruach merachefes al pnei hamayim. Again, I'm going to give you as many arguments I can to tell you that one can technically, I'm just telling you, so one can technically argue that maybe the Rebbe is referring to what happened to the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Frierdiker Rebbe, the Neshama passed away, and the Rebbe is not necessarily talking about Gimel Tammuz, but he's talking about. The Rebbe is saying that this is shaykh to Kislev, that it is a shlichus of Mashiach, that Kshamim is related. It's a shlichus of Mashiach that this should happen. Again, I just think it's very, very, very interesting that it's here, and to me it looks like. If you want to know what my opinion is, to me this is what it seems to be saying. And the reason why it was put in right over here is because since L'chura, again, I'm going to say right now, I'm not telling you this is the Rebbe's words, this is my interpretation. Since the Rebbe knew that the shlichus will become so hard, especially after Chas v'Sholom, if this might happen. And therefore, and we shouldn't say Chas v'Sholom that this inyan ended, Mechatei said ended. Because now the Rebbe said what the shlichus is. And let me tell you what, let me just share with you one thing. The scary thing is, very scary thing is, how many shluchim B'chlal know that this was set? I'm not talking about, I'm talking about, I spent 8 years after I officially became a shliach ignorant of this. I didn't touch these books. I was scared of them. If I did, I didn't sit it down to learn it. And I think most, especially young shluchim, I think older as well, so we have a kinnis HaShluchim. Shouldn't it be the first thing we do at the kinnis HaShluchim is that we sit down and we learn a sicha like this and learn it ba'amkus u'be'iyun, like you're learning Gemara Rashi Tosfos. Tell what is being said over here. It's unbelievable words. Umezeh, now let's all this comes Hayra b'poyel Yudalit. So what does this mean? And let's talk frank words. Does this mean literally that we need to run around screaming Yechi on top of our lungs? I'm sorry, I'm taking off my gloves right now, and let's talk b'poyel mamish. First of all, when the Rebbe says we have to be makabel pnei Mashiach tzidkeinu, let's not be kidding ourselves. He says clearly who that is. You have two options. If you want to be stam I should say a shaita, you can say that the Rebbe means we have to go be makabel pnei Mashiach, the Friediger Rebbe. Everybody understands after 40 years that when the Rebbe is talking about Friediger Rebbe, he's talking about himself connected to the Friediger Rebbe. As you see later, the Rebbe himself says it. You'll see it. I'll get to it soon. But either or. So go be makabel pnei Mashiach, go sing Yechi Adenenu to the Friediger Rebbe. Okay, well, let's stop for a moment. Does this mean, I think receiving Mashiach means you accept Mashiach as Melech HaMashiach so that he can come redeem the Jewish people. But the Rebbe gives a ha'irah here. So I think, again, benegayah to us ourselves, of course, yeah. Because how can we pass a message to the world if we're not even there ourselves? But then, what's with the world? Let's see what the Rebbe tells us to do with the world. When we are standing right now at the opening of the Kinnis HaShluchim HaOlami, at first, we have to go out with an announcement to all the shluchim. The avodah of shlichus today, and the shlichus of every Jew, it expresses itself in this. This is their avodah. Their avodah shlichus is they should now. Again, we finished working the world. Our avodah is now to receive Mashiach so that he can redeem the Jewish people. But what does that mean? Doesn't mean you stop putting tefillin on Yidden. Doesn't mean you close your Chabad house down. Doesn't mean you stop doing neshek. Doesn't mean you stop doing miftzah kashrus or miftzah taras hamashpacha. But what does it mean? All of our details of our avodah of shlichus, spreading Torah and Yiddishkeit, and spreading Chassidus, which is primarily, let's say, for instance, me. I'm not so much of someone who's, I don't have a Chabad house that does a Fatzis Hayahadus, but a Fatzis Hamayonis. So what's that avodah? So it can be because Chassidus is a good thing, and I have to be makar of people to learn Chassidus, and it's nice. And if I talk too much about Mashiach, I might turn people away, so let's cut that. No. Let's understand something. The avodah of everybody, whether it's a shliach in a Chabad house, whether it's a shliach in Maayon Yisroel, or a shliach, all shluchim, the avodah is what? It needs to be permeated with one nekuda. What's my shlichus? That I need to be me, myself, and all the people I need to reach to be makabel pnei Mashiach tzidkeinu. Who? The person of Mashiach. Keitzad zeh moilach. And the question is, I'm getting this person to keep kashrus. How will this eventually, maybe when I'll eat kosher food, won't be so fagrept, and he'll be able to appreciate Mashiach, and eventually he'll be able to recognize who Mashiach is, so that he too will be able to be makabel Mashiach tzidkenu. If a light Shabbos candles, the house will be lichtik with an oira leki, and it will illuminate in their minds. They'll be able to see Mashiach in the world. And every single pula that we do. And the Rebbe says it's emphasized in the Noisa Kinus, Kol Yemei Chayacha, that year, the theme of the Kinus was, Lahavi Liyamoisa Mashiach. That it should bring Liyamoisa Mashiach. So the Rebbe says, Lahavi means that you're responsible to make it happen. Kol Inyane Avoida, all the Inyanem of Avoida, Kol Yemei Chayacha, B'chol Yom Atzmoi, your whole life, and every day, Kol Prati V'Shoas Hayom, you have no other business. No other business. Your entire day and every hour needs to be permeated. And what does it mean? And here's this amazing thing. When it wants to say the regular word it should have used, that we're going to mention Mashiach even after Mashiach comes, it should have said l'rabois, to include. It doesn't say to include. It says lahavi. What is the difference? L'rabois means that when Mashiach will come, we'll have our whatever. Lahavi means that your avodah is to bring it. That what it says in other places, it says l'rabois, but over here it says lahavi. It means, hear this, shehu hashliach oimedu mechake shemashiach yavoid gewalt, that the shliach stands and waits, and he says, oh, let Mashiach come. Then he's going to have anah. Which shliach is not going to have anah? Especially, imagine a shliach, I worked. I'm a shliach. You know who I'm a shliach? Lubavitcher. You know? Turns out that Lubavitcher was Mashiach. Whoa! Look at delight. I'm so delighted that can you imagine? And I'm sure everybody's going to celebrate, and I'm sure everybody's going to feel good, and everybody's going to wonderful. But the Rebbe said that's not the shlichus that you should stand by and let. When it's going to happen, then you're going to join in. It does says befedish not. Elolahavi. You have to bring who oise kol boy. You do everything that's dependent to bring to the days of Mashiach lush. And here's the thing, and here's what the next word liyamoisa Mashiach lushan rabim. Yamoisa Mashiach means plural. Not that you bring things to the beginning of Mashiach. You're responsible to see it through to the second kufa, to the end. Shal Yamoisa Mashiach. And what is it? And regarding what you can say. You're responsible to see it through until there will be fruits, chocolate growing from trees, which the Rebbe says the second stage of Moshe Mashiach when miracles happen. No, the Rebbe doesn't say that. He says you're responsible to see it through, that what? The second stage of Mashiach, meaning what's the second phase? I think this is very telling. Not the first stage where Mashiach is only becheskas Mashiach, which means assumed to be Mashiach. You're responsible to bring it to the state that Mashiach could be Mashiach Vadai and not just in the state of Cheskas Mashiach. And I think, again, I'm sorry for keeping you. I really, I know you're all shluchas, you all work hard, and it's late at night, but this is Negeya B'chaya Mamish. V'akavana b'pashtasi, and here the Rebbe lays it down b'pashtas. Because when you're going to ask him, so what practically? I asked before, does it mean you run around scream Yechi? So no. The Rebbe doesn't say that. He says from the kinnis shluchim there needs to come lahavi achlatis toivus. We have to have achlatis toivus keitzad kol shliach tzarich lehiskoinin ba'atzmai. How every shliach needs to prepare himself ulahachin es kol b'nei Yisroel, to prepare all the Jewish people b'makayimai in his place. That means each and every one of us in our place, u'be'irai in our cities. L'kabbalas p'nei Mashiach tzidkei. In other words, your achlata needs to be that you need to bring your community to be able to be makabel p'nei Mashiach tzidkei. Which the Rebbe explained what that means earlier. Okay. Now, but how will you do it? So the Rebbe says, well, if everybody's ignorant about what Mashiach is, no one accepts Mashiach. People need to appreciate what Mashiach is. Al yedei shuhu masber es in yonei shel Mashiach. The Rebbe doesn't even say you have to be masber din yonei shel yamoisa Mashiach. That's true. You have to explain everything. But the Rebbe is emphasized, you have to be masber din yonei of Mashiach himself, of the person. Who he is, what's he all about. In a manner where you don't scare people away. So if immediately you go together and you make a kinnis, and the first thing you do is you shout someone in the face and they run away and say, totally meshugana. Of course not. But that means you sit down, what's your method? You're going to get the method. If I want a person walked into my Chabad house the first time, And my objective is that this person should be the objective, should go learn in yeshiva. I want him to be a Chassidish Yid wearing a kapota and his wife wearing a sheitel and have a beautiful Chassidish house. That should be the tachlis, by the way. We shouldn't like to keep our people not religious so we don't, that's a discussion onto its own. We should want to bring our people to full kiyum of karyag mitzvahs. Fine. But we all understand that the first thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to start telling them the difficult halachas of Taras HaMishpacha, or on the first thing. It's not what I'm doing. The first thing, I'm going to give them a Chanukah latke, and I'm going to warm him up, and slowly but surely, and then I'm going to introduce him to a pair of tefillin once in a while, and then I'm going to give him a beautiful and enjoyable Shabbos dinner, and so on and so forth. And slowly but surely, I will warm him up. So when it comes to teaching people about Mashiach, it's an education thing. But here's the thing. First of all, the shliach and the shlucha need to know the subject. We need to know it. We need to learn it. It's Gavald. And the Rebbe taught us everything, but we have to sit down and learn it. When you learn it and you know it, then you live it and you're excited about it and you can teach it. So what are you teaching? You're not teaching Rebbe's Mashiach. What you're teaching is what's the inyan of Mashiach. What is he supposed to do in the world? And then someone says, so could it be? And then the next question is going to be, so what do you think? Could it be the Lubavitcher Rebbe? Is it possible that it's, well, do you have another candidate? Is there anybody else who fits the bill? If Mashiach comes today, is there anybody else who can do it? I don't know. Unless you believe in a fantasy Mashiach, again, who's coming from the sky with a cloud and he drops down out of nowhere. Yeah, you're right. But why is that less of a miracle than if you have someone who's a candidate and everything? And true, let's say Gimel Tammuz, even if Chas v'Shalom we to assume it that it means mamish b'poil mamish in the literal sense, Chas v'Shalom like someone else is passing away, Chas v'Shalom, which of course the Rebbe taught us is ridiculous. But even if Chas v'Shalom, so why is the miracle that someone comes from the sky and is going to suddenly change the whole world? It's just as big miracle. So what's the? But that's anyways narishkeit. But al kopanim, the people themselves come to that maskah. Then you have to discuss. Okay, so now. It's still possible. Wow, where and when? Does the Rambam say, Chas v'Shalom? The Rambam says if someone is killed, he can't be Mashiach because he was defeated. Rambam never says if someone, whatever. I'm not getting into that whole discussion. But over here we are told, and again, I have to say, Gimel Tammuz did not make things easier for us. This is not easy. But if we can only change the trend, if only we can get out there, and I believe a grassroots campaign. There's nothing changed. What's the proof that nothing changed? Because 28 years later, and we're still sitting for Shklaft and Golos over here. And the Rebbe gave us a shlichus. And the frightening thing is that what happens if someone makes you if someone gives you a job, you have a mashalech and you do shlichus, and at a certain time he changes, he tells you have to do this, but you're insisting you still want to do what he told you last year. I'm not condemning and saying we all want to do the right thing in everybody, but I'm just saying there's a lack of education. I mean, this is the Rebbe talking. The Rebbe talking to all the shluchim, to all of us. So let's get in again. We have to learn how do we do this? We learn in Yana Mashiach Gula befrat ba'ofen shel chachma bina b'das. Since this is the avodah today, how they say moving, so someone could say, it's shaykh to every single Jew, without anybody. And by the way, I'm telling you right now, I'm talking to myself because I struggle with this. This is very, very difficult. It's much easier for me to just go with the flow. It's much easier for me to just be normal. It's easier for me to be normal. I promise you it's so much easier for me. What can I tell you? I have a Rebbe, and I'm learning what he says, and I'm saying Gevalt. So let's give a bracha to all of us. Tezvav, I'm sorry again, I'm keeping you a little longer, but let's learn. The Yeratzin shal yadei, let it be the will. Because the beautiful thing is we can still do it, nothing changed. We can still do it, so let's do it now. How many? Three of us. Maybe 4 will join, 5 will join, 6, 7, 10, 30, 40. It has to start with the women. And what is it? We're going to fulfill our tafkid. With all of our 10 koiches nefesh. The Rebbe says it's dependent that the shluchim should combine. We should have an achdus in this. Yavi take from Yad Mamish as Gili Vashlema Shel Ashliach Ikri. When we unify in this shlichus, this is what's going to bring the isgalus of the shliach ikri v'amiti b'yachadem gili asa koiches shaloi with his 10 koiches. Shlach no b'yad tishlach. Amazing. We sit and kvetch. How come Mashiach is not here? What happened? The Rebbe says we should all gather together and invest ourselves in this shlichus. Boom! This will bring about that the shliach ikri v'amiti will come about. The giloi of him. This is very important also. The Friediger Rebbe. But here's interesting. When you say the Friediger Rebbe, the Rebbe says, and the shlach no b'yat tishlach that was in the previous generation. The Friediger Rebbe is unified with his father. He is his one and only child. We have the shleimus of all the 7-branch candelabra of all the Rabbeim of Chabad. So it's interesting, the Rebbe doesn't say a 6-pronged menorah, the Rebbe says 7, because he's the 7th. We all have them unified together as the neshama of Mashiach in this world. Kol HaShiva Dairis, all 7 generations. V'oid ve'ikr, and now ve'ikr, ma'acha shekvar simu as avodas hashlichus. Since we finished already our avodah, Nigash kol shliach ala mishaleach amiti. Every shliach can approach the real mishaleach, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, which is the Eibishter, umaydia, and he notifies the Eibishter. Asisi eshluchasi. I finished my shlichus. Va'achshav v'gia azman, and now the time has arrived. Sha'ato kiviyachol, that you Eibishter, tase eshluchascha, you should do your shlichus. Shegam Hakadosh Baruch Hu shliach. The Eibishter is also a shliach. We're all, imagine if we all get together and do our shlichus, we become one with our Mashaleach, who is Mashiach Tzidkenu, who is a shliach, who unifies with the Eibishter, who the Eibishter is a shliach. Ubiyachad ima eser spheros, Hashem atzmos together with the 10 spheros. Harei atzmusay muhusay beatzmay kiviyachol hu Mashiach Tzidkenu. Then Hashem Himself is Mashiach Tzidkenu. Shlach no b'yad tishlach. Shlach lanu as Mashiach Tzidkenu b'poel mamish. We say we did our work, Eibishter. Now it's your time to do it. Gewalt. Oy, is there anything more important than this? Everything is done. Imagine this is crazy. Everything is done, the Rebbe said. Outstanding. There's nothing left to do. This is the only thing. And we need to have the whole world be Makabel P'nei Mashiach Tzidkenu. And how we do that, the Rebbe told us. So we have to work on that. And Baruch Hashem, Chabad Chassidim are smart Chassidim. And we're Baruch Hashem intelligent. We have huge operation. We have entire infrastructure. And we didn't waste our time the last 20-something years. We built this most incredible infrastructure. Okay, now, Chevra, let's tune in. What were we told? We can do it. We could do it. We should do it now. We shouldn't wait anymore. And more than that, all the simanim that we had then of Geula, now it's like a gazillion times more. Everything that happened in the world the last 2 years, 3 years, unbelievable. It's like the world is bubbling beneath our feet, screaming, Chevra, wake up. Wake up. Let's do this. Dafman the Sandikin. And there's no way out of it. We have to do it. If there's a suffix that the Eibishter wants to keep us even one longer minute, because they give the Eibishter a big nachas ruach. Zoyek Yehudi ayit shreit zum Eibishter. Kol ma sheyomer lecha balabais asay chutz mitzay. Everything the Balabas says. One thing we don't have to listen to the Eibishter Kiviyachol the Rebbe says. Kol ma shebalabais HaKadosh Baruch Hu oy metzarech lases chutz mitzay chutz milishar oy drega chas v'shalom b'matzah shel tzei. We shouldn't stay even 1 second mechutz l'shulchan aviyim outside of our father's tent. Mevakshim v'toivim Kiviyachol ma'HaKadosh Baruch Hu shlach no b'yat tishlach b'shnasu b'ascholas yat tishlach v'havik kvaras agula mitzvah v'shleim. By the way, another thing. So bring Mashiach now, and the Eibishter can't keep us out of here any longer. But I want to say one more thing. Now, this year, we have a second chance in this particular way. Because it was 90 years then of the Rebbe's birth. The 90th year is particularly connected to Mashiach Tzidkenu, Shnas HaTzadik, because it says the power of Giyul is from Tzemach Tzomachti, the power of Tzadik. It's Shnas HaTzadik now because the connection of the Rebbe to us, Chassidei Chabad, and the Nasi of the world is because the Rebbe became the son-in-law, the Friediger Rebbe, the marriage to the Rebbetzin. And now it's 90 years. And now it's, in a sense, even deeper 90. So now is our chance. And maybe that's the reason why we're learning this tonight. And by the way, you shouldn't think that this is only an isolated sikha where these things are mentioned. The entire Nun Beis is speckled with these. The problem is that I find is that people, sometimes people get caught, get stuck. It's hard to learn these sikhs. They're not so easy. And you get caught, whatever, in the Teichen, and then you don't notice that these, like in the end of the sikha, unbelievable things. On the other hand, sometimes people just learn the end and they cut out little parts and you paste, copy and paste and cut. It's nice things, but it doesn't have that power when you see the entire build-up. The Rebbe took basically all of Yiddishkeit from Moshe Rabbeinu, from Eliezer Eved Avraham, connected it all with one shlichus, puts all the shluchim at the finish zone, says, here's where we are standing right now. Guys, this is the work. Let's get it going. And now's our opportunity. We also need to appreciate that dafka, because this is the most important thing. We're going to have an Nisayan. We have an Nisayan. But let's rise to the occasion. As soon as we finish our shlichus, we're going to also have the completion of our marriage. Shir Hashirim Shel Yisroel v'Kutsha Berichu. Especially the Rebbe says that people, the shluchim, are going to be makabel to learn the entire Likutei Torah and Torah Or, which is the concept of Shir Hashirim. Ad la'oifen shenekevet t'soivev gever. And again, the Rebbe's putting it on the women. The Rebbe says it's going to be in a manner that the woman stands higher than the man. HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Eibishter, who is the man, is going to admit to us and say thank to his wife, to us, for doing the most incredible thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu atzmai moide kaviyachal l'bnei Yisrael, l'chol echad echad Yisrael, l'klal Yisrael, alav eidasim for their work. V'hu moilech es kol bnei Yisrael l'eretz HaKodesh, Yerushalayim HaKodesh, l'har HaKodesh. I have to say one thing, that even though I saw this earlier, I never had such clarity in this, like it says over here. Because the thing about learning is when you learn with people together, and we learn it and we discuss it, suddenly the neshama starts shining. Like it's so clear. It's so clear. Okay, the main thing is, today's Rosh Chodesh Kislev, is the Rebbe's Yom Tiv. Today is the day where the Rebbe shows when he looks like he's defeated, and when he looks like he's gone, boom, he comes right back with full power. Now is the time. I hope that we're going to make a chlotis toivus, and I hope that we're going to figure this all out and get ourselves together. It doesn't have to be with a Rash Gadol. It should be quiet. It can be done, but amongst ourselves, shluchim, shluchis, let's get to work. We have to get to work, and I'm sure that as soon as we're going to start, because it's already late, as soon as we just start this in an achtustige, unified. I want to say, by the way, if I said chas v'shalom anything that sounded condescending or sounded chas v'shalom as critical, please erase that. That's not what I mean. I don't have a tiny bit of that in my mind and in my heart. I'm saying, I'm Pashat calling out for unification of all of us together, that we should just join and recognize Vima state and Vima halt, and to shake off the klippa that distorts us and makes us a bissel tzedreit, and let's do it. So let's make sure. The entire world will already be able to say the ultimate Yechi Adonenu, Moreinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach li'olam va'ed. We should all be able to be makabel p'nei Mashiach tzedkeinu b'simcha b'pnimiyas, with joy, with happiness, with delight, and with simchas olam al rosham. A good Yom Tiv and good night.